Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Chris. I post mountain bike and ski related content. If you're into that sort of thing, be sure to hit subscribe. But today, I want to talk to you about my Schwalbe Racing Ralph rear tire that I have here on my cross country bike. So, let's dive into it. I've been using the Schwalbe Racing Ralph on the rear of my Specialized Epic Evo for 4 years now. It is the 29 by 2.35 size in the super ground casing Attic Speed compound. Now let's dive into the details of this tire. First, let's talk about cornering. So the Racing Ralph has a pretty tightly packed center tread knob with transition knobs between the center and cornering knobs. This prevents the tire from having a drift zone between the center and corner knobs. As you lean the bike over, it grips until you get onto this corner knob where it really locks into the corner and just rips you around. For a cross-country tire, this really has a surprising amount of grip. When the tire does get to the limit of its traction, it releases very smoothly and controllably. It doesn't just totally wash out and leave you high and dry. It leaves you with a nice smooth transition into a drift until you gain just enough traction again and it stops. It's not grabby where it drifts and catches. It just sort of smoothly releases and comes back. Now, because of that trait, the tire is incredibly fun to just have on the rear and flick around, doing Scandinavian flicks into corners, and just overall having a loose riding style on a cross-country bike. I couldn't think of a more fun tire to have on the rear. It really jives with my riding style, which is why I've had it on the bike for 4 years now. All right, now let's talk about the braking traction of this tire. As I had mentioned, the center knobs are pretty tightly spaced together. And because of that, this tire does tend to skid, especially in loose over hard type conditions. However, I don't think that's abnormal for a cross-country tire to behave like that. The tire does feel like it always has enough braking traction to keep your speed in check on the steepest, loosest of terrain. So in that sense, I think for the category, the braking traction is very good, but just know that it's not going to brake like an enduro tire. All right, now let's talk about the climbing performance of this tire, which I think is its best trait. In dry and moderate conditions, this tire just climbs up whatever is in front of it. It has a tremendous amount of traction to climb up the tightest, most technical of XC climbs and allow you to just put down a tremendous power without ever skipping a beat or losing traction. In wet conditions, it still performs very admirably. I wouldn't say it's the best performing wet tire. It does require proper technique in wet conditions to really make it up those steep technical climbs. It will do it. But you really have to transition your body weight and make sure you're keeping proper weight over the rear tire and being smooth with your pedal strokes to clean those climbs in wet conditions. All right, now let's talk about rolling resistance, which arguably is just as important, if not more important, for a cross-country tire. And this tire performs very well. It rolls extremely fast. It has very little to no resistance when tracking in a straight line, as well as when cornering. It provides a very good amount of balance between grip and rolling speed on the side and transition knobs to where you don't feel like you're losing speed when you're cornering, which some tires can feel like. This tire really allows you to carry speed through the corners as you transition from center to side knobs. It just allows for a very engaging riding feel. Now the Super Race casing I'm sure rolls even faster than this Super Ground, but the Super Ground does roll extremely well, and that's backed up by bicycle rolling resistance tests, which mirror what I'm saying about the tire's performance. Now, one of the main reasons why I went with a super ground casing is because of the durability. After 4 years of use and abuse, ripping this thing down rocky, janky, technical single track trails at mock turkey speed, I have had 0 flats. Absolutely 0. That is a true testament to a cross-country tire's performance, as I have routinely popped EXO Plus tires in the past, and this tire has never let me down. Now, I think most of this durability doesn't come down to the casing itself, which I do think is great. I think it comes down to the tight tread pattern on the center of this tire. It really prevents jagged rocks or sharp items from digging straight into the casing. They have to typically go through the tread first before it gets to the casing, just adding a little bit of extra protection. Now, as a secondary testament to this tire's durability, I used this in the Shenandoah 100K race last year. It is 100 kilometers, 63 miles, 9,000 feet of climbing of rugged Appalachian single track of the most janky rocks and enduro type trails that you could imagine. Ripping through rock gardens at 15, 20 mile an hour, this tire did not skip a beat. I had zero issues during that race with this tire. As expected from 4 years of use doing basically the same thing with no flats. So the second aspect of durability is the tread life, and I get roughly 500 miles out of this tire. I ride like a bit of a lunatic, to be honest. Sometimes I have a very loose riding style, just having fun throwing the rear tire around. I'm sure if you were lighter, less aggressive, or just had a less loose riding style, you could get close to 1,000 miles out of the rear tire, but your tread depth tolerance might be different than mine. I prefer to have tires that are relatively fresh and not just totally worn down. I'm sure you could run this tire well over 1,000 miles if you're willing to just run the treads down to zero. All right, so in conclusion, the things that I like best about this tire are its durability. I mean, after 4 years of use and abuse to never have had a flat tire, that's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, just absolutely mind blown by that, which is why I've been using it for 4 years. It's just never let me down. Now, the second thing I like best about this tire, as I had mentioned, is its incredible climbing traction. You never feel like the tire is going to break loose on even the most technical of climbs, and when you're breathing through your eyeballs trying to just hammer up a climb, the last thing you want to happen is to slip and send yourself right into the bars. Not a great feeling. So this tire, absolutely great for that. There's only one thing that I would change about this tire, and that would be to offer it in a 2.4 inch width. I think that the additional volume would take this tire up another notch in performance. You'd be able to run a little bit lower tire pressure, providing a little bit better grip, especially in the wet conditions where this tire might struggle a little bit more. Most XCO pros are using 2.4 inch tires now, or even larger, just because of the advantages that come along with that, such as reduced rolling resistance. All right, that's gonna wrap up my thoughts on the Schwalbe Racing Ralph. If you have any additional questions, just drop them below in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. It will help push out the video to a larger audience, hopefully helping more people. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.